Hi, this is Terry Bach, and welcome to It's My Time Now mini summit. In this summit, we are going to be talking and exploring really how to have hope during the pandemic. So I know that a lot of us are really just tired out from the last couple of years of, not being able to do the things we've been wanting to do or the things we've planned to do or the people we've wanted to get together with. And it's been really draining. And we wonder if we're ever going to live that life that we had planned. Maybe you've started to plan this dream life and you've had to put everything on hold, or at least some of it on hold. And that can create a loss of hope for us that it's ever going to this pandemic's ever going to go away and we're going to be able to do the things that we really want to do. So I have brought together some experts who are going to talk about this very topic from their own perspective, from their own experiences or their experiences of their clients on this topic of how to keep hope alive during these times. So today I've invited Kristine Goad as our expert. Since 2005, Kristine has been helping people get their dreams out of their head and into the world. As a Surfing Your Edge coach, she's passionate about helping her clients find the more that they're looking for from life. More joy, peace, fun, love, income, impact, ease, creativity, all of those things, so that they can finally live the bigger, bolder, more badass life that they know they were born for. So welcome, Kristine.
So much, Terry. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm excited to learn more about you. So I know you had a really great story, and I asked you to bring it with you about how you managed your own fears when the lockdown started.
Yeah, we all kind of saw it. I sort of saw it coming. I knew it was, well, that's not true. It surprised me as much as anybody. But then when my little part of, town closed down for real, and I was living in a high-rise apartment, and we had our first COVID case in the apartment building.
Oh, wow.
That's when things really got serious. And for about the next week, I just was having a hard time sleeping. It was just too much for me to, I lead live retreats, right? I take people to Panama to learn to surf.
Wow.
And I was really looking forward to doing that in the coming summer. And so there was all of this stress of, not only my stress, but the, 500 people living in my building with me. I could feel their stress too. And so for about the first week, I couldn't sleep. And finally, I think it was the 8th night, I just said, that's enough. I got up in the middle of the night. I went to my office, grabbed a piece of blank paper, put in the center, opportunities in COVID, and I put a big circle around it. And then I just started drawing lines off that circle and coming up with ideas for how this could actually be happening for my benefit and not just something that was meant to collapse all of my dreams and my life and my hopes.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to ask you to just kind of describe what some of those things are. I know you don't have the visual with you, but that's okay. Can you explain, you called it mind mapping.
Mind mapping.
So can you kind of explain what that is?
Sure. You kind of start with a central idea in the center of the page, and then you draw ideas that come off of it out in lines. And then if there are other sub ideas that come, you can, circle those and draw lines to connect everything that, this relates to this, and you draw a line, and this relates to this. You can look it up online, mind mapping. There are a couple of places that let you do it with apps online. I find it's better if I just do it with paper. I feel more creative and my thoughts flow quicker.
Right. Yeah. Can you share some of the things that came out of it for you?
Yeah.
I know you don't have
Actu-
it with you.
yeah,
By the
yeah.
way, Kristine just moved, so some of her stuff is still in boxes. So.
Right. And some of it, it's not in boxes, but I've used it and then I didn't remember where I put it because I haven't got my organization system set up yet. So,
Right.
but I know that a couple of the things that came out of that mind map were that I could get really good at learning to make connections online. I had started making connections in my town. I was new to
Okay.
that town at the time. And but it was like, okay, now I can learn to do it online. And then another thing that came to me was it was an opportunity to rethink my priorities and my life and really spend my time the way I wanted to spend my time
Right.
rather than running around doing all of the things I thought I had to do. So it was a way to create a more conscious life. And it was funny because a couple of clients of mine, we had a conversation and we're like, we created this. We all wanted to slow down. We all wanted more time.
Exactly.
So
We're going to
somehow
blame
this
it
is
on you.
yeah, this is the universe's answer to, we wanted to take time to do these things that we aren't taking time to do. So it really just felt like that was my opportunity to really rethink, to learn to make connections online um, and to really get good at coaching, not just,
Mhm.
being a retreat leader, but really get good at coaching and to really get good at making deeper connections with people, not just handing out business cards in person kind of thing. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I managed to fill the whole paper. My husband got up at like 3 o'clock in the
Wow.
morning. It's like, what are you doing out here? But it was so important. And actually some of those opportunities did pan out for me.
Good. Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are there some things that came to you, opportunities that came to you out of the pandemic that maybe, excuse me, maybe wouldn't have otherwise?
Yeah. I had really been struggling to give up sugar and soda and all of that. And so we lived in, like I said, a high rise in the middle of a city, and we were having our groceries delivered. And I felt guilty having somebody bring me Mountain Dew. I was like, oh no, that's just a little too obvious. Somebody else is seeing what you're drinking. So I gave up soda really fairly pretty easily and became a vegan again pretty
Wow.
easily, just because I had to cook for myself and couldn't run out and do all of the fast food stuff that I liked, or even the restaurants. We weren't doing restaurants for a long time either. So I had to learn to cook. And since my husband has severe allergies and is a vegan, we both went vegan. And
Wow.
it was fun. After about 2 weeks, I was like, oh, I love this.
Oh, that's great.
I would have never spent the time learning to cook the way I did if I hadn't,
Mhm.
had him home with me and was trying to take care of both of us. And I did learn to network online. I went to a couple of networking online events, and I started inviting women that I would meet in Facebook groups or in different places to have virtual coffee chats with me. And we would just spend
Right.
30 minutes to an hour getting to know each other. And then a lot of those women, I was, just like, oh, you're awesome. Let me share you with the world. And I would invite them to come on to my Surfing Your Edge live show, which is a Facebook show that I had an opportunity to get really focused on. And I did a weekly show for probably a solid year before I took a break
Wow.
of interviewing people online for an hour every week. And that
Nice.
was really amazing. So that was good. And then I lead, like I said, I lead my retreats in Panama, and I have a woman who runs all of the, she sort of runs all of the details for me so that I can just lead the
Okay.
retreat. She sets up
Nice.
the boats, makes sure we've got the hotel rooms, she makes sure that she speaks Spanish so she can speak Spanish for us when we can't.
Wow.
So she started teaching online virtual retreats about how to lead virtual retreats.
Okay.
And she had me come on and do her Zoom support and her chat support. And so starting in March of 2020, we've been doing about one virtual retreat a month together. And
Nice.
it's just been an amazing way to deepen our relationship. Now I'm involved in all kinds of parts of her business.
Wow.
So it just, it took a real world relationship and made it even stronger.
Even
So
better. Yeah.
I think a lot of things have happened for me that have been good.
And you've been open to them all too, which makes a difference.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
my default is yes.
Which is often good, not always, but yeah, in this case, yes, very much so.
Yeah.
So what do you think beliefs, what beliefs do you think you've had operating right now that have helped you and your business during the pandemic?
A lot of them came out of that one little mind map, right? Reminding myself that other people have made great careers in the middle of very difficult times. So reminding
Mhm.
myself that this isn't the first time the world felt like it was falling apart, and other
True.
people have, have succeeded during challenging times. So that was the first one, just remembering that I wasn't the first one to try to figure this out, and and to just kind of breathe when everyone else was yelling pivot, pivot, pivot. And it's like, well, pivot to what? Take time here.
Exactly.
Let's figure
Yes.
this out. And then I think a really big one is, everything happens for you rather than to you has been a really
Mhm.
big one. Trying again to find the opportunities and the silver lining in the
Right.
tragedy.
Exactly. Yes.
And then just remembering that it was and the whole pandemic thing and the way it just shifted our world so fast. Two things there for me. One is that when everything is changing, that's the best time to change everything, right?
True. Very true.
It's like everything else is already up in the air. What do I want to put in place? This is my opportunity to choose. And
Yes.
then the other one was that security is an illusion. We all think, I know a lot of women who aren't willing to take a leap because they're worried about losing the security of their job, losing the security of, the respect of their family and friends if they try something
Right.
crazy and fail. And it was another reminder that security doesn't really exist. The only security we really have is that we create for ourselves. So that was a
Very
big
true. Very true. Yeah. I know we live with this illusion that we have to do certain things in order to be and feel secure, but
right.
no, there is not. I mean, things can happen as COVID showed us. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's
Yeah. So
great. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Taking opportunity where you could. So
Mhm.
I know that you help women face their fears and really get out of their comfort zone. So have you noticed anything particular during the pandemic that women have needed in order to do that?
Yeah. I think that because there's been so much stress and so much prolonged stress that our nervous systems are already on high alert, and it doesn't take that much to be too much.
Right.
So I think what we've really had to do is be more compassionate, self-compassionate, and more patient with ourselves, and just understand that even the simplest things can take longer because
Mhm.
we're feeling so much stress. So just to be um, kind to ourselves that way, and maybe even pretend that we're someone else. If we were caring for someone else, what would we say to them rather than what do we say to
Exactly.
ourselves? So
Right.
that's been
Okay.
important. And then again, to just be really conscious in choosing the things that are going to make you feel good, and
Mhm.
putting energy into those. We, as women especially, tend to put ourselves last on our to-do list. And this has been a time where if you do that for too long, you don't
Yeah.
function. So,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
then just meeting yourself where you're at, and realizing that your boundaries. I'm thinking about creating my next retreat, and my next retreat is going to be in Peru. And I thought, oh, that'll be lovely. It's so exciting. It's about balance, and it's on the Amazon River, and it's going to be so great. But I remembered the first time I went to Peru, how overwhelming it was in terms of I had to get shots in advance and I had to worry about, medical transport out of the jungle if anything happened to me with, and
Mm,
getting insurance and all of this stuff. And so I'm like, that's too much to ask of people right now,
yes. Yeah.
even though it's a retreat. That's going to be a stressful retreat because they're already on high alert. That's just too much to ask. So realizing that boundaries are different now,
Mhm.
what might have not triggered you before will be too much for you now, and it can change on a daily
Right.
basis. What you could do
Because our
yesterday.
normal has raised our
Mhm.
what we're already dealing with. So yeah,
Absolutely.
put too much more on top of that, and it's too
Right. Yeah. So just meet yourself where you are every day.
nice. Good lessons.
Thanks.
Lessons and you paid attention. That's what impresses me. A lot of us just go along and we kind of do what comes up, but you actually go within and say, wow, you make a lesson out of it. Like, this is what I learned from that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does. Yeah. So that's
Thanks.
impressive.
Thank you.
So do you have I know you work a lot with fear, and so do you have any suggestions for how to kind of let that fear not be in control of us anymore?
Yeah, the first is just to recognize that any of those negative voices in your head are there for a reason. They help to keep you safe and get you to the place that you are today, but they aren't necessarily always serving you now that you're an adult and have a greater vision of how the world works and what your own
Right.
capacity is. So if you can recognize when those voices start to pop up and say, what are you doing? You're no good at that. Stop that. Or what are
Mm,
people going to say about you? Or just, whatever it is that negative little voice is saying, recognize that it's fear and its main job is to keep you safe.
right. Right.
So
Yes.
recognize it, maybe even name it, pat it on the head, say, thank you. I appreciate your willingness to keep me safe, but I'm in control here and I'm going to
Exactly.
move on. And then I
Yeah.
think uh, practicing small little things that make you nervous, make you just a tiny bit scared,
Right.
practicing those on a regular basis helps get you to that point where, oh, I call this fear and it makes me want to stop, but actually it's a little bit of excitement and maybe I want to go through it. So just
Exactly.
practice building that muscle, practice reframing it as, oh, I'm starting to feel a little fear. This probably means there's a growth opportunity here.
Exactly. And doing it in little increments so that it's not overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and it also, I think, gives you this sense of accomplishment when you feel it and then you get past it. And
Mhm.
however you do that, and then you move on to something bigger.
Right.
And you build that sense of accomplishment too.
Yeah. And take the time to celebrate every tiny little win
Absolutely. Yeah.
because none of us celebrate enough and
I
just
know.
really feel how good it feels to get through that little thing that scared you.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I teach with when I'm working with clients is that celebration on every little thing, because really what it's doing in your brain is rewiring your brain.
Hmm.
So you want to celebrate all those things so you can kind of redo your neurotransmitters in your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
more you focus on the positive, the more positive you see in the world. So,
Mm,
yeah, just congratulate yourself.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Good. So, what's your best advice for finding hope, even during the pandemic when it's a little tougher?
It's so funny. I had to work really hard. I have to work really hard to think about this. Um, I think the important thing is to remember that everything is happening for you and that you are a resilient and creative being and you've survived this long because you have skills.
Right,
So
exactly.
they aren't going anywhere. You've still, in fact, um, like when I studied poetry in my master's program, and a lot of the formal poets put put restrictions on their poetry to make themselves be more creative. If it has to have this many syllables and rhyme with that, that is going to increase the amount of creativity it takes
Right.
to get the poem written. So this is kind of like that. We're putting more restrictions on ourselves, so that is going to increase our creativity and really help us meet the situation in a way we may never have had to before.
That's true. You have to think outside the box.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
certainly different. Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to say is just to remember that you create your own reality with your thoughts. So if you can just be curious and not necessarily judgmental, and just be like, I wonder what happens if I do this, or I wonder what.
Right.
And not just assume that that something isn't going to work, or that it's going to be harder now, or just maybe it won't be harder.
Right. Yeah, I like that curiosity and just, I wonder when. And I think that's where the mind mapping comes in handy too, is just, I never thought of doing mind mapping. I probably do it in a different way. Like I'm a list doer. But I like the idea of, putting the main challenge there and then coming up with all these other ideas. Yeah, because then you really are starting to think outside your comfort zone and outside of the box. It's like you can do things in a different way than you've always done them before.
Right. And find connections,
Exactly.
Wow, this is over here and this is over here, but look, I think I figured out that they actually go together.
Exactly. Yeah. Very powerful. Yeah. So Kristine, I know that you have a free gift for the audience. So would you tell us what that is?
Sure. It's an ebook. It's called Flip Your Happy Switch, 5 Super Simple Strategies to Get Happy Quick. And
I like that.
It's not, and it sounds a little bit frivolous, but we really do get better results when we're trying to create something in the world if we're creating from a positive place where we feel good. If you're trying to create from stress and overwhelm, things are just going to be a lot harder. So these are just 5 little strategies. You can try one, you can try, all of them, but just 5 little strategies that will help you feel good on a regular basis, and feel good before you dive into the big project that's on your plate. Feel good before you do the little thing that's going to scare you for the day.
Right. Yeah. Start out at least from a good place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for the listeners, you just have to click on the button below this video and it'll take you right to Kristine's free gift. So Kristine, thank you. This was fun. I enjoyed learning from you, and I want to talk to you more about the retreats that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds exciting too. So, and the listeners, just be sure you watch your email for our next expert who will appear, and will be sharing her perspective on how to keep our hope alive during the pandemic. So bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.